Hi, this is going to be a video response to a video recently made by Flamezombie. I'm going to put a link to that video in the description. He talked about many things, but there are two things that I find particularly important. The first one, mechanics, and the second one, the trust that exists between the game master and the players. When it comes to the mechanics, Flamezombie mentioned how during his sessions, or maybe one particular session, I don't know, excuse me, 30 minutes of time, in my opinion, 30 minutes of time were wasted discussing game mechanics. And like I said, that's my take on it, because I was just thinking, that's an entire session. When you actually roleplay, that's an entire session. Remember, Tyler, our first Reminisce Super Smash Bros. Session? It was about 30 minutes, an entire session. So I think that's, wow, I would never allow it in my campaign, in my adventures. If you allow it, well, that's up to you. But I would want to offer some potential solutions. You said it had to do with mechanics, right? I look back to when I used to play Pathfinder a lot, and every time there was some sort of doubt or something was unsure about the spells, the way that the spells interacted, the feats, maneuvers, tactics, etc., we would roleplay through the entire thing, through the entire process. The rules must be put to the side if you want to keep the immersion going. And like I said, this is not me telling you what to do. This is just how I handle things. Offering potential advice to anyone who is in a similar situation. Imagine that you are running a very crunchy system and you have this subsystem of alchemy. And you take a look at the subsystem because, of course, before you play a tabletop role-playing game, everyone should be familiar with the rules system. You take a look at the process and it says something like, first you must secure the ingredients. Then you must find a way to purify the ingredients. Next you need to combine them, right? And instead of going like, you stop the game and you're like, okay, so I'm going to purchase this the ingredient, and now I want to. Is there a way for me to combine the ingredients? No, to purify them, and then I'm looking for. Can I find some way of combining the ingredients? No. As the players investigate the ancient library, they stumble upon the ancient manuscript of the alchemist Baradimus. And it said that you need to find the ancient plant of dragon tears. And now you have your little adventure to find that plant. The document also said that in order to purify such an ingredient, you need to take it to the forbidden caves of Nostalgiana. And now that, you continue the adventure and you look for that, and you perhaps talk to different beings within the cavern, strange beings that dwell underneath and all of that, and they give you the information on how to purify it. As the scroll explained, the document explained, now you need to combine the ingredients. It is hinted that a particular immortal vampire count knows the secret on how to do it. Now you need to look for the, you see, and you eliminate the boringness of, oh, okay, so how are we going to do this? What are the modifiers? As you adventure, as you roleplay, you make those rolls when it is necessary. Once you get to combine the ingredients, you make those rolls, and then you add the modifiers. The mechanics, as I have mentioned many times in my videos, they are going to slip through the cracks, through the gaps. They're going to be on a second plane. They won't disrupt the immersion. Just like when we are role playing and I tell you, roll this. You make your roll, you announce the result, and I tell you if it's a success or a failure. the same thing. So rather than spending, maybe it's like I said, it was a separate instance. Maybe it's not that often in your games, but you mentioned that particular example, so I will use it. Instead of spending 30 minutes on figuring out things, roleplay through the entire ordeal. Roleplay solves everything. That should be a meme, right? Roleplay, or rather, it shouldn't even be a meme. It's a truth. It's like the truth. Remember in one part of my Dark and Terrible campaign where I got disconnected from StreamYard and Josh kept on role-playing and Crispy followed in his... yes, by rescuing the situation through roleplay. Both of them roleplayed the entire situation until I managed to reconnect to StreamYard. Roleplay solves everything. Yes, because you said like that Shoner and I, we are very defensive about roleplay. Super defensive. We are super defensive, as you mentioned, we are super defensive because we want super sessions, super amazing sessions. So yes. The other point that was very interesting is that you mentioned the trust between the players and the game master. Well, as I understand it, you feel comfortable with the players stating what they wish to roll, right? They say something like, I am going to roll perception. I would personally disallow that because the player will never have the absolute certainty when some skill will apply to a particular situation. I think it's much better the way that I handle it, but that's my thing, my way. Like in the Super Smash Bros. Campaign, when I tell you roll bash or roll hold or whatever, no? Or maybe that would explain why you said, you mentioned how sometimes you were making the roll before me telling you what to roll with Johnny, right? Maybe that's because that's the way you handle things in your sessions or your campaign. But in my case, I always prefer to tell the players what they need to roll. And depending on their description or on their roleplay, sometimes I give you a choice, right? In the Reminisce campaign, sometimes I tell you, roll either bash or move. Roll either this or that. I think there is another... Well, before moving on from that, you also mentioned something very important. When the player is like communicating, as I understood it, the player is communicating his or her armor class to the game master, and some game masters could be feeling a bit worried that perhaps the player is raising his or her armor class not to get hit from the attack. Maybe the game master is making the attack and I rolled a 16 and the player is like, no. But the player has an armor class of 14. And so it's obviously a hit. Well, you need to play with adults, of course. If you are playing with mature people, even if they are not adults, like I said, maybe they are teenagers, they should be mature enough not to cheat. They should be playing the game, not cheating the game. Not cheating in the game, of course. But I think there is a different type of game master player trust that was perfectly showcased in the recent part of the Dark and Terrible campaign. You can see pretty much all the time, even as well in the Super Smash Bros. Campaign, that both the game master and the players, we are working together so that there is coherence, so that the will of the players manifested through the player characters is happening in the world. You have the intention of accomplishing something, but that doesn't mean it's a sure thing. Still, it is the duty, the job of the game master to make absolutely certain that the player is doing what he or she wants in the game world. The game master is going to present the obstacles, the enemies, the hazards. Those hazards, enemies, obstacles, they're there to wreck the players, the player characters rather. They're there to wreck the player characters. But the game master is not an antagonist, of course. You're always trying to make sure that everything is happening according to the player's will through the player characters. But let's see if that intention, like I said, that action is successful or not. But there is this very specific moment in the Dark and Terrible campaign when Crispy was trying to remember the name of the other city, Kainsmoor. And he was having a difficult time remembering. Maybe he didn't have the cheat sheet ready, like the notes of the different important names. So I said, you remember that the name of the city is Kainsmoor. So you see, that's the game master working with the player. The player trusts that if something, he or she gets into a difficult spot, the game master will provide the tools to get out of that potential obstacle to roleplay. And it's the same thing when the game master messes up with the description or anything else, as it has happened in the Dark and Terrible campaign, especially in the first part, when I confused West with East. The Crispy and Josh, they basically took a careful look around their surroundings just to make sure that they had the correct layout of the map. As simple as that. So there is trust between the game master and the players, dungeon master, referee, whatever. There is trust between the both parties, both groups, both sides of the roleplay environment in a meta gamey sort of way. And so I think that is the most important trust. Right now we are approaching the end of the Super Smash Bros. Campaign. It's going to happen next Tuesday. And depending on their actions, it's possible that in 2 weeks, Josh and Crispy, it all depends. It all depends, right? For better or for worse, maybe the campaign could come to an end that session. Who knows? Who knows? We shall see. But after those campaigns, I am going to run a one-shot. A horror one-shot featuring a tabletop RPG. I'm going to keep it a secret for now. That has to do with the hidden spaces of the world. The typical, the back rooms, the liminal spaces. You are moving in a normal place. Maybe you are walking in the park or going into the mall, into an office building, and suddenly you find yourself transported into this place that is uncanny, so similar to the real world, but something or several things are off. They are bizarre. It's going to be a horror one-shot. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for those of you that haven't practiced role-playing in first person. This is going to be open to any role player. Even those that want to be role players, this may be the perfect chance for you to practice actual roleplay. Because I am going to be asking that everyone should speak in first person in order to drive the horror home. I am planning to get between 2 to 5 players. And so if you're interested in a horror campaign a horror one-shot in that style, well, start thinking about it, because when you least expect it, I am going to bring out my video, my interest gauge video, where I am measuring if people are interested in this game or not. It's going to be a very simple system. I am going to be making all of the rolls, just like the Quick and Classic game. So definitely consider that. Well, thank you for watching this video, and great content on the part of Flamezombie. I hope he continues to produce many videos. I have already requested that he produces, it would be a good idea that he comes up with more videos explaining some historical European martial arts elements to use in tabletop RPG battles. I think those would be great, very helpful for pretty much everyone. But yes, as always, thank you to everyone for watching this video. Thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.